Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to another episode of B is for Build. We are here working on our camper truck. We had the desire to be able to haul ourselves for overnight and day trips and tow race cars. And we originally thought that maybe like a camper van would be the way to do it, but then I thought, how much cooler would it be if we could also take it off-road to do camping and adventure and outdoorsy stuff as well. And that idea led way to what you're seeing here, which is our 4x4 camper truck. This whole project started by us buying a damaged, crashed Ram 3500 at auction. We fixed the front end crash damage up by replacing the frame rails and rebuilding out the front end and getting the truck running and driving again. And then from there, we removed the original truck bed, taking out a good 400 plus pounds, and then we added in that weight by putting in our camper floor. Once we had the camper floor, we started framing out the different walls, the supports, the ceiling, and in the last episode, we put our sheet metal skin on all of the walls, the roof, the ceiling, and the camper section. So right now, it's looking pretty dark, and we gotta start prepping this thing for building out the interior. So in today's episode, we're gonna be focusing on doors, which is gonna be really fun, windows, another fun thing, and then prepping for insulation. So let's get started. Stay tuned. Now that I said all that stuff, let's just go ahead and get started on something completely different than what I mentioned. You guys have commented on Instagram and in the comments here that this front section is looking a little bland, a little bulldozery, a little rammy, because it is like a straight 90-degree angle, and I do agree. It looks a little bland, and this is one of the things that the renderings help, but when you're looking at it like this big on a computer screen, it looks pretty great. And then when you blow it up to the size of this room, it does look a little bit bland, and we believe that if we add just a little notch, like right here, give this a little facet, and then as we're gonna add the light bar onto the very top, and with our windows in there, that'll kind of break it up so it doesn't look so bland. So we're gonna spend pretty much a whole day for one person to change that by cutting all of our work out and changing it so it has a facet to it. Let's go ahead and get that done. And then I'm gonna work on designing on the computer how the hell the doors are gonna work. And then we gotta go try and source the parts, and then we'll build the doors. Before we get down to work, I want to take a second out to thank our sponsor. Today's episode is sponsored by Factor. So I'm really happy to be able to tell you guys about Factor because this is something that I've actually been personally using for over a year and a half. So I'm really knowledgeable about the product. Factor meals are fresh and never frozen. They're delivered right to your doorstep. I get mine every week, and when I travel, you can just click a little button on the website. You can hit skip a week, and they don't deliver it to you that week. It's really, really nice. They got a great user interface. And in the same area, you select all your different meals. They have a ton of different meals to select from. And it says right here that they are chef prepared, and I do believe it. They really, really taste good. I swear Factor gets me to eat more vegetables than any restaurant in town. So for me, you guys know I have a pretty busy life, and I just wanted to be eating a little bit cleaner. I wanted to be eating good quality food that tasted good, but that I could also have on the ready and get ready really quickly. And Factor ticked all those boxes. It just takes 2 minutes to prepare. I can select different meals based on different types of food categories that I want to be eating from. And it saves me a ton of time. I don't have to make the trips to the grocery store. I know I got a good clean meal ready for me whenever I need it. When you're selecting all your meals, they have a bunch of different meal options. For those of you that are trying different things, they have vegetarian, they have vegan, they have calorie smart, they have keto, large selections of all of those. Like I said, I've been using Factor for a long time. Some of my favorites are anything with chorizo in it, anything with pasta in it, and the meals are always rotating, so I don't know if this one's gonna come back, but the shepherd's pie was delicious. So if you're like me and you wanna be able to eat clean, but you don't have a ton of time, you wanna save the trips to the grocery store, you wanna save the food prepping at home, you wanna eat something fast, but you want it to be good, Factor is the best thing that I have found, 100%. Select your meals online, gets delivered right to your door, fresh, never frozen, and it tastes awesome. So if you're interested and you want to check it out, head to factor75.com. It's right here on the screen. Use code B is for Build 50 and you're going to get 50% off your first Factor box. Again, that's factor75.com. Use code B is for Build 50. Huge thanks to Factor for sponsoring this episode. Let's get back to work. Now, doesn't that look so much better? Yes, it does. It actually really improves the visual look of this. Makes it just look a little less like, you know, tanky, boxy. So I think it was certainly worth the time. Now we're gonna start moving over to our side coverings, our side strips, whatever you want to call them. They are like half cosmetic, half important. They help seal in these seams. They cover the seams and they look good, and then they reinforce the seams too. So it's going to be a situation like this with another piece butted up against it, and then we're going to be filling the middle with a seam seal, and then once we sand everything flat, oh, this tack popped. Once we sand everything flat, it's going to all just look like a nice piece of trim that covers it all up. And then when we paint this whole thing, it'll really have a good look to it. So it's one of those things that we've actually kind of done this before. We know it's going to look really good. It's just going to look really ugly when we start doing it. So we're going to start getting that stuff on. I'm still in the process of designing the door. I went through a lot of iterations yesterday of making this door open sideways, making the door open like a gull wing, making the door open down. I've decided that I want the door to open down and become our steps, but I need to design the rest of the steps, the hinging mechanisms, and the gas shocks. So I'm gonna get working on that while the guys start on the cosmetic strips. All right, so as you guys can see, I finished designing the door out. It's one of those kind of like single person aircraft style fold down doors that becomes the steps. I like the design idea. We're gonna go with that. One thing you guys had mentioned a lot in the comments is why have a door on each side? And I originally had this idea of doing like a walk-through thing, so you could have both doors open, you could see through it, you could walk through it, and then you know, whenever you guys comment a lot about something, we have a chat about it internally in the shop, and we spin the idea by, and we were like, you know what, yeah, that does not make a lot of sense why we would have two doors. So we are taking your guys' advice. We're going down to one door, and that is going to be on the traditional side, which I don't know if the camera's got everything flipped around because cameras are weird, but passenger side gets the door, driver side doesn't get the door. Another thing worth noting too is because our cab has access into the habitat, we actually have doors on each side as well, because you could easily just hop in the back door and then jump into the main habitat. So there's a lot of ways to get into this thing. So we've completely scrapped the driver side door idea. That's going to get sealed up. Now this may, though, impact how we do the interior, and I might flip the whole interior design around and take everything that was supposed to be on the passenger side and put it on the driver's side, take everything that was supposed to be on the driver's side and put it on the passenger side. It's still definitely not too late to make that change, so that's something I'm looking at in the computer, and another reason that designing on the computer is super awesome. So let's take a look at this door and where we get started. So it is a bit unfortunate that the door that's supposed to fold down is right in front of a wall, but we'll work around that. Right now we left this seam right here. This is the edge of the door. This is the top of the door right in between these two trim pieces, and this is right about here where you see all these welds. That's the far side of the door. I guess right now is when I should talk about all the trim work that we've been doing. The trim work is nearly done. We're on the cleaning up phase of it, of getting all the trim around everything. We don't have our bottom trim on yet, but we've been doing a lot of just this trim work. So basically we've got it, it's spot welded in, and then we're gonna be filling the center of this to make it look like a really nice piece of angle. So that's just more cosmetic finish work that's going on in the background, but we're ready to jump into the doors so we can jump into our camper. So we're gonna be cutting this thing out to get started, and then we'll build the frame on the inside and then we'll attach the frame to this piece right here, and we can start on our steps. Got the beginning of our door hole. So this is kind of how it's going to look. So you see we had a 2-inch bar here. So we made this 2 inches thick to emulate it. This is the backing piece that the door smushes into. All this is going to get filled in and capped in so it all looks really, really nice. And then the trim goes over this and down on this side too. So it's going to go this way and then that way. So Kyle's working on cutting out all that trim. Oscar will get it tacked in, and then Oscar's going to start on the frame for the door, which is 2 pieces of 1 inch. One follows this line and one stays up on this line, so we'll have a nice closing, nice surface to mate to when it closes. Oh, and the tricky part to figure out, the hinges. That'll be really fun. We went and bought the hinges, so now we got to attach them to the bottom of the frame and do a little bit of test opening and closing, even though it's only gonna, it might hit the wall. We don't know. This is so cool to see the door come together. So Oscar, go ahead and show them the trickery here. It's just awesome to see this thing finally like be in place and the idea come to life. I'm so glad we went with this door. So the door, luckily, barely clears the wall and will become steps. Yeah. It's super cool. They are a little, it seems a little steep, but we could also, I think we're gonna have some feet on the bottom of this that'll kind of kick it out. That way we're not roughing up the outside, because remember, like on the outside of the skin, that's gonna be touching the ground. So we'll probably build some feet that will automatically fold down, kind of like what we have on top on the rooftop camper type of deal. So super cool to see our hinging drop down door. I'll be ordering the, there's gas, I can't remember what they're called. They're like extension struts. So basically they're gas struts that help it kind of slowly come down, and then they're gonna help it lift back up too. And that's really, really awesome. So that's the frame of the door. We're gonna work on looking at the skin and then looking at integrating the steps into it as well. We've got a door and we've got steps. This is a big step in the build. Get it? Let me show you what it looks like from the inside. It's actually pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool. I actually checked out designing those as shelves when I was doing the design, the 3D modeling. Problem is they'd be quite the toe catcher and make people stumble up our steps. So we decided against making them shelves in there. Was gonna be a cool idea though. So it swings down. We've got a little like 2-inch block on the ground that's emulating kind of like some sort of a standoff that we're gonna build. And we're on steps. And I think we need to cut this window out. So this is a window, and it will before you can open the steps, or the door, before you open the door that is steps, the window will be on gas shock. So it'll open here, and then it'll fold right up. So it'll cover the area right here and come out. And then you would walk right in. So these are pretty damn cool. They're really, really sturdy. They look awesome. Oscar did a great job. We kept it pretty lightweight so anybody can open and close these, and we don't even have the gas helper shocks on here. Once we add those on there, it's going to get even easier to open and close. Well, it's very easy to open.
It's very easy to open.
Gravity helps you out there. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and cut out the hole where the window goes, and then we're gonna start working on getting the skin back on the back side of this so it starts to look like, you know, you'd expect a door thing. Our door is finished. Looking good. Oscar just finished out all the work on the sides. We may add a little bit of trim. We probably will add a little bit of trim on the sides here, but door is finished out. And then Oscar started cutting the hole for the window. That is where the window goes, and that window, remember, that one lifts up like 90 degrees. So Oscar got us started. Let's transition into window land. They go like there, and then there, and there, and there, and there. There's a lot of windows. Let me show you how we're gonna do it. It's not exactly the most orthodox way, but I think we came up with a pretty good solution. So this is a window frame built out of, you guessed it, steel. No, okay, so we tried to order T-channel steel, which would be exactly this, except minus one of these little guys, and it was like on a 2-week delay. So we decided, you know what, we're just gonna go ahead and use angle iron. That way we can keep progress on the build. So the idea is we're gonna cut a hole out, and this is gonna be the flange that goes on the outside of the sheet metal. No, this one holds the window. This one's on the outside of the sheet metal, so this is the outside of the vehicle, and this is the flange that holds the glass. The glass is gonna go in here, and then there's another frame that comes in with a set screw that will hold our glass in there. And that way, if we ever need to change our glass, we can undo the set screws, pull out this frame, and then replace the glass with whatever we need. So a big part of building this is I wanted it to be serviceable. I wanted to be able to replace the glass if we needed to. So that was why we're doing it with basically kind of like 3 frames. These 2 get welded together, and then there's the inside frame that sets in. So now we're gonna tack a few of these frames together, and then we're gonna move them up into the vehicle, and then we gotta trace out our spots, and let's cut a bunch of window holes into the habitat. We've got the holes all marked out where we want them, where we want our windows. So this is the point of no return. We're gonna cut some big old holes in the habitat, and then we should be able to just slide our window frames right in there and tack all them in. It's a lot brighter in here now. We got all the window holes cut. So we've got our back ones, our door one. Oh, we're still gonna cut that hole. So that's the last one we gotta cut. We're gonna cut that one out, and then we're gonna go ahead and put the new window frames in the windows and see how they look. We got the window frames in and they look amazing. I'm really happy with the window layout on this thing. We got plenty of light in here. We got our steps down just to see it all opened up. Looks awesome. And I'm really happy that we made that change to the front right there. It just makes this thing look a whole lot better. And I'm really stoked on this. I'm just stoked on how much lighting we're getting into the habitat. And it's just coming together. It's taking shape. And that's really exciting. You can see from the inside, there's a lot more light in here. I think soon we're gonna have to move on to electrical and then getting the interior built out. Oh, we also need a back door. This space is a little empty. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe so you don't miss any more episodes about this or the next project that we are jumping into shortly. And spoiler alert, I signed all the paperwork on the shop. I got the keys to the new shop. In the next episode, I'll give you a little walkthrough of the new shop as well. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Peace!